And not you either, but the yellow clowns on the other end. How can you say you represent the citizens of this city? How can you face these people, or even the city workers who you're trying to screw over? That's bull. If the shoe was on on you, seeking more benefits and whatnot, or it'd be different. But you give Bouvier, who's leaving his position, $75,000 a year. Plus he gets all these benefits. For what? Part-time job. How about these city workers? You could take that money and it would go a long way. But ooh, you're more interested in the mills, which I know, Mr. Gassavant, you have a strong connection with Doug Sanford. And the heart of Biddeford, oh yeah, that's another one. Money gets thrown over there. What have they accomplished? You know, I did some research. You have all these commissions. Police Commission, last met February 19th, 2015. Okay, how about the Public Safety Commission? March 2nd, 2015. Capital Projects Oversight, October 2nd, 2014. And then we got the Policy Commission, October 27th, 2014. Now, you as mayor, it says right here in the charter, you have power, but you don't use it. You hide behind it. You always have excuses. I looked in the charter. It's pretty interesting. The charter, in Article 2, Office of the Mayor, Section 1, Powers and Duties, Section B, exercise general oversight over all departments, divisions, agencies, offices, and boards created herein or that may be hereafter created. Then you go to Section E, keep the city council advised as to the business of financial conditions and future needs of the city. So, Mr. Mayor, you do have a lot of power at your disposal. Why not use it? I could go on for hours talking. A lot of these people go on for hours too. You know, in November, elections, you will be gone. You're definitely out of here. You, forget it. You're useless. Except for these three here. I will support them, but they decide to run. Swanton, you're useless too. McCurry, you're a clown. You take nothing seriously, and you make all these funny faces at these people when talking, or you're looking down. And Mr. Mayor, oh my Lord. I could go on for days talking about you. You've let down sexual abuse victims. You've let down the people of Biddeford. You've let down the city employees. Are you proud of what you've done in your term? Can you look at everybody or at anybody and say, I did a great job running this city? No, you didn't. This council, except for a few.
Can you summarize, please?
Yeah, I'll summarize. It's like, I hope everybody in November can look at these people and just picture a whole new administration. Amen. Because they're not going to do nothing for you. They've proven it. And if it continues with Mayor Gassavant, you don't have a chance in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Melissa Ludke. I want to start out by saying if you are not hiding anything, then publish the law that states that you cannot put the chief on leave. Make it public for all to see. If you cannot, then answer us. Who can put him on leave? We still have not gotten a clear answer on either of those. As citizens, I believe you should put out the statute that you are quoting that says you cannot put the chief on leave. Put it on the city website so that way all the citizens can see it, and that topic can be left alone. The mayor likes to send out his citywide emails full of lies and excuses. So I figured that I should stand up and say what I'm seeing from a citizen's point of view, as I think his point of view on the city is a little bit different than mine. Now, I'm not sure, in fact, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out, when I was in high school, the good old days of Mike Landry and Tiger Pride, I didn't feel Biddeford had this much crime. Was I a child and just didn't notice, or has it grown much worse? We are hearing of regular heroin and crack busts in our town, overdoses and prostitution. These are at all-time high rates for Biddeford. The Maine DEA and Maine Violent Offender Task Force have been helping BPD with these recent raids. I have to ask myself, where am I? I have an 80-year-old grandmother who's afraid to open her door even at noontime. I'm regularly saying to people this is scary here and that we are becoming a mini Lawrence, Mass. I commend the officers who risked their lives this week during these busts and every day as an officer. We will never understand what you see and go through on a daily basis. As I am not an officer, I can only assume that you do not just work 40 hours and go home. I know 99% of you are wearing t-shirts from some sort of a gym facility tonight, which tells me that these men work out to keep themselves and the citizens safe. This takes time on top of their job. The mental stress from what they see and encounter, the stress of not knowing when they leave their home in the morning, if this is the last time they will see their family. I cannot believe that there has been no negotiating to keep these men. They have told you that they will leave. I don't believe they are bluffing. And why should they take a pay cut? When these good men do leave, how are we going to handle our mini Lawrence, Mass? We have a police chief who's eating bonbons, and all of his credentialed officers will be resigning, and not a piece of me blames them. Please realize that your pride is not important than these men's lives, Council. I don't mean to leave out the fire department. They all know they're awesome, and I love that they watch these meetings as a group at the station if they cannot attend. To the public works people, I run almost every day. I'm nostalgic, and I do notice how our public parks always look amazing. With the city growing rapidly around us, I'm glad that our kids will have a nice place to play. I will never forget the man that stood up and said he slings poop for a living, or the 911 operator that we owe so much thanks to. These are two jobs that I can't imagine people are beating the door down to replace. Even if we did replace these amazing men and women, what would we get in their place? The old saying is, you get what you pay for. More of what I'm seeing as a citizen. I see a mayor that is hiding. From what? I'm sure that I know, but in fear of having a lawsuit against me, I will plead the fifth. I believe that's what people say when they try to weasel out of an answer, right? I believe that I would ask the other citizens to ask themselves why the mayor, an ex-teacher at BHS, for so many years did not go and speak at this year's BHS graduation. Maybe he realized that his words would be hypocritical since he appears to support, I say appears to be supporting, sexual abuse of minors. I say appears because the mayor had not put a law in place to protecting our children from sex offenders living by our parks and fields until we begged and plead. I thank God that the council had enough sense to pass a sex offender ordinance, but people should still keep their children close by. Also, we have over 100 possible victims that have come forward in this town claiming they were sexually abused as children, while your friend, the chief, was in his throne. Of course, this warrants an investigator, but the mayor has not asked for one. Again, this does not seem supportive to victims. Do these reports not warrant a victim's advocate to be provided by the city? I have had a victim's advocate before, and I believe you, Mayor, know what would happen if there was one hired. These victims would have someone credible to talk to hear their
Summarize,
story.
please.
This person would be putting pieces together, much as Matt has already. Only you wouldn't be able to look away with an advocate. I believe they have to tell if there was abuse going on that has not been addressed. Well, I would consider this whole thing not addressed, not even a bit. It seems to me as a citizen that you haven't done much lately other than try to cover up the corruption in our town. I think it's appalling that you as our mayor surround yourself with your friends that bully survivors of sexual abuse, one of them being a DHHS worker. You could step up and disavow their
Please
actions.
don't make references like that.
Okay. Distance yourself from them, but you don't. Instead, you play the victim, which is disgusting to watch, frankly. The minute that anyone disagrees with you on Facebook, you block them so that people will only see a positive comments by you. And just because the public can only see positives you share doesn't mean that you're doing a good job. It's very childish and petty, and I would expect more from a mayor. Maybe remove yourself from Facebook altogether. Speaking of friends, I'd like to mention again the chief of police. I've only physically seen him once. In my opinion, he was overweight and underdressed for a city meeting where we were discussing the new fire chief. He hid in a corner, close to a meeting room in the city hall, I'm assuming in case someone wanted to confront him. Very cowardly. What did you have to hide, chief? When a female reporter did try to interview him, he didn't even stand and introduce himself. He sat in a chair and answered very few questions. My perception of the chief as a citizen, I guess, was very different, and I was very surprised. I mean, I've had run-ins with Officer Flint. I can say that he's always standing proud with his uniform on, neat and tidy. I guarantee he can at least accomplish the same physical tests as the rest of the department. The men I have seen here exemplify amazing officers. I'm finishing up now. I wish that we had a chief that did the same. He's been in the chair for about 30 years too long. It's time for you, Mr. Mayor, to put the chief on leave. I've heard he is amazing at his job as far as tracking where his officers are located, even in the middle of the night. It does seem a bit creepy to me, but I guess I'm wondering how he did not know that 2 of his officers were raping children. You do need to ask him to step down simply because he's a conflict of interest and is not someone that the citizens feel comfortable turning to. Why would we want a police chief we don't feel comfortable with? I can tell you that I would sleep better at night if I had a chief. The chief stepped down and Sergeant Green took over tonight. I mean, talk about credentials. We heard from Jeff tonight, last week, why his brothers and sisters and their families need to have their benefits stay the same, if not better. He is not a coward. He knows the sexual abuse allegations that are going on in the force and that he is a part of at this point, but he does not hide. He still stands here and says he's proud of his department, despite what is being said. Sergeant Green gets dressed every day and leads his department as an officer with integrity and honor. So I conclude with, where is the chief? Why is he hiding, and from what? Where does the corruption end? Let's all remember these meetings, these battles, and the people who ignored us when this all comes to a head, and it definitely will.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You must be tired of seeing me coming in. I come in week after week. Well, today I'm going to give you a lesson that you might not have thought of. I'm proud of the police officers. They come and help. They believe us. They trust in us. But you, except for 2, have approached me and talked with me. None of you, my own counselor, never came to talk to me once and say, what can we do? How can I help? None of you. Shameful. Do you know what happens to a child when it's being sexually abused? It's being murdered, and you're covering up murder. You're murderers. Have you ever thought of that? That child stays at that age. He can be 65, he can be 58. That child, that person inside is that age of that abuse. Do you know what it takes to get on with that? It took me 15 years of counseling, day in and day out, the support of my family and the support of who? Nobody. But when a child is abused, it's your standstill. They're murdered, their spirit, their soul. Do you know what it's like to be murdered than to live and always looking in back of you? That's what you guys are allowing to happen. These policemen, they come and pick up people. They say there's no drugs and everything. Yes, there is. It's because nothing is being done to help a victim. Nothing. I've not seen a zero. We don't have a place to go. We have to continue living. So a lot of people go on drugs. The pain is horrible to live with. They do drugs. and they bring in the drugs. And you know I'm not lying. We have an epidemic in our city. It's shameful. We don't have nothing. And yet you keep murdering innocent children day in and day out by not helping them.
Evening.
Good evening.
Evening. I'm Tim Pierce. I live on Ward 6. I have worked with kids for 8 years. 8 long years. I said it last week. I was running for city council. But I don't want the job. You know why? Because I look at each and every one of you when I come here. These people over here deserves respect. I give them respect when I walk down the street, when they're in their patrol cars. I wave to them, because you know why? I have respect. Because I have an old-fashioned father and I had an old-fashioned mom. Both were very strict. All three, my mom passed away. You know why I have respect for my mom? Because she gave birth to me. As of right now, I am running for a school committee. Because you know why? I don't want to see, like I told Mr. Mills and Mr. Catrone tonight, I do not want to see little Dickie going to school somewhere where they don't feel safe. Cassavant, you're a well-respected former teacher. But seeing these police officers here speaking from the heart, I speak from the heart too. Because I worked with kids for 8 years. When I go into the daycare, each and every one of those kids that see me has a smile. Each and every one of those kids gives me a hug because they feel safe around me. And you know what they call me when I'm at daycare? You're going to think this is really cute. Maybe some of you won't. They call me Mr. Tim. When I first started at the daycare, I didn't have the skills that I have today. Now I do. Because a former teacher and a former director that I love personally took me under his wing, like a father figure. You know what? I see people that don't really care about these children. I do. I care about this city. You know why I care about the city? Because I live in this city. You know why I care about the city? Because I went to school here. Tiger Pride. You preached that Cassavant 12 to 13 years ago. You said Tiger Pride was inside. I have lost that. You know, if I had to choose from Bedford to Saco, you know what town I would choose? I would choose Saco. I would choose Bedford. Because I live in this town. I believe in this town. Do you guys believe in this town? Do you? And just, you know what? Just close your eyes for 1 minute. Listen to these people. Listen to the citizens. Listen to these hard-working men and women from the school department, the police department, public works, fire department. Because there's a cop that was here today that I got personally know. But I'm not going to use his name.
You could summarize, please.
I was at this school. I used to hang out with the wrong crowd. What kids don't? Teenagers. We don't care. There's one day he ended up calling my dad. But most cops won't listen to their dad. I mean, kids won't listen to their dad. I do. I'm 31 years old. I still tell my dad where I'm going. Because you know why? I have respect for him. Just like there's the cop that was here. I'm not using his name because it's confidentiality, HIPAA, because I use that word HIPAA constantly because I work at a nursing home. I respect police officers. There's only 3 people on this council that I respect. Mills, Catrone, what's your name again? What?
Okay, you
what?
gotta summarize. You got 5 minutes. It's getting late.
The 3 city council members up here that I respect. I got to know Mills and I got to know Catrone. I wish I could say the same from some of you, even including you, Mr. Mayor. Really, it's time to wake up, turn on that spotlight, and give these men, hard men and women, working women here, what they deserve. You know what? If I was the mayor, these people wouldn't be going to different states, working this cities and towns, different towns. I'd be giving them what they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Oh, yeah. My name is Bob Provencher, Ward 6. And there's one thing that I heard here tonight that really hit my heart. And that's when Captain of Detectives Greenwood mentioned that a young man that had been sexually abused over 15 years ago contemplated suicide today. Probably not the first time that he contemplated it either. It's because of people like him. He stopped him this time, but what will happen next time? And I'm willing to bet you that this is a young man that since this whole thing has started here, okay, that I probably have met, and I probably could name him to him, and it just breaks my heart. The other thing is, we've been living with this sexual abuse thing for quite a while now, and tonight you heard from an expert, okay? Rob Brown, he's an international expert on sexual abuse and of young kids. And, his assessment of this thing here is that it's probably greater than the Sandusky case. That's going to involve a lot of people. And like he said tonight, once the cover is pulled off of this thing, it'll blow up in proportions. Not everything that we've told you is allegations. Some of it is stuff that was proven, And once again, if a department head isn't doing his job, how can you hold him accountable? How do you hold him accountable, him or her? And that doesn't seem to be happening here. So, you got to apply the law, you got to apply the rule all across the board. When you apply it to a regular worker, you should apply it to a department head or a manager. That's where you get fairness. So, I'm going to close by saying that, and good night.
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Hey, Carmen.